You are a legionnaire. It is the second day of the siege at Dura-Europos, 256 AD. A Sassanian and sword has just opened your right thigh from hip to knee. Blood is pooling in your boot. A man you have never seen before kneels in the dust beside you. He is not a priest. He is not asking your name. He asks you to count backwards from 10 while he pours a cup of vinegar into the wound. In the next 10 minutes, this man will decide whether you walk again or die in a ditch at the edge of the Roman Empire. This is the story of the only army in the ancient world that could keep you alive. Most ancient armies fought, broke, and left their wounded to die on the field. The Roman army did not. By 100 AD, every legion carried its own permanent medical corps into battle. Each of the 30 imperial legions fielded 8 to 12 medici, plus a senior medicus or dinarius, a chief surgeon with the rank and pay of a centurion. Behind every forward legion was a building no other ancient army had, the valetudinaria, the legion hospital. 60 beds, its own kitchen, its own water supply, its own operating theater. When you were cut, 4 hands moved before yours did. A capsari, us, a legionary with basic medical kit, reached you first. Then a medicus stabilized you on the field. Then a stretcher team. Then the valetudinaria. Triage was invented here, in Roman mud, 1800 years before a French surgeon would coin the word. Here is what none of that prepares you for. Roman army amputations at the knee or the elbow had a survival rate of roughly 80%. In the American Civil War, 1700 years later, that same operation killed roughly 1 patient in 5. To understand the answer, go back to the place where the cold case began. Dura-Europos on the eastern frontier, a fortress town on the Euphrates. In 256 AD, Rome's medical system was pushed to its absolute limit here. The valetudinaria. Dura was a low, white plastered stone building. At dusk, it looked like a small temple. Lamps burned on the sills. A junior medicus named in the records guy, Usma Nilius, was inside, preparing tools. Laid out on the wooden table was a Roman field surgeon's kit. Bronze handles, steel edges, 43 separate instruments, each one designed for a single, specific problem. Pick up this one. It looks like a long-handled spoon with a slot cut along its belly. This is a Diocles and scoop. The Diocles spoon, invented 4 centuries earlier by a Greek surgeon named Diocles. It solves one problem: barbed arrowheads. The scoop slides alongside the shaft and cups the barb. The barbs fold flush against the spoon. Then surgeon and spoon come out together. An arrow that took 3 men to pull now leaves a clean straight line wound. Next to the spoon sat a vaginal speculum, the oldest medical instrument ever found with moving parts, a bronze tourniquet with a screw mechanism, a bone chisel for trepanation, an obstetric hook, a scalpel whose handle unscrewed so the blade could be boiled separately. Roman surgeons did not know about germs. No one would for another 1800 years, but Celsus, writing under Tiberius, lays out 4 conditions for a good wound outcome: cleanliness, careful cutting, silk suture, quick closure. 4 out of 4 correct by modern standards. The answer is in a manuscript that survived by accident, a 2nd century copy of a Greek surgeon's personal case notes. The surgeon's name was Galen. The manuscript reads like a modern trauma textbook. Behind the operating theater was a small room lined with clay jars. This was the dispensary. Every valetudinaria had one, and every jar held something the Romans understood to be an active drug. 3 of those jars held what Dioscor IDs called the surgeon's sleep, mandrake root, which blocks pain receptors in the brain, hemlock, which paralyzes the muscle response to cutting, and opium, reduced from poppy latex for the last hours of a man who will not survive. For an open wound, the Romans used honey, poured directly in. Modern science has since measured why. Honey's low water activity and natural hydrogen peroxide kill roughly 200 bacterial strains. Roman surgeons had the right answer by observation. They just did not know the word bacteria. For chronic head pain, a physician named Scribonius Largus prescribed something no other ancient medicine dared. The patient stood with bare feet in shallow seawater. A live torpedo fish was placed against the scalp. The fish discharged. The headache, according to Scribonius, stopped. They were not right about everything. Hired bloodletting. The four humors. Dog dung poultices for sore throats. Romans got plenty wrong, but on the single question that mattered, keeping a wounded legionary alive through the first 3 hours, they were right. They were right more often than the best doctors in the world would be for another 1700 years. Come back to where the 2nd century manuscript came from, 157 AD. The city of Pergamon, a young doctor, 27 years old, is Greek already catching attention among Roman senators. He took the worst job a physician in the empire could take. He became surgeon to the gladiators. In the 5 years he held the post, approximately 400 gladiators passed through his care. Sword wounds, crushed limbs, gut punctures, severed tendons. Every wound modern trauma surgeons now train on, Galen saw on rotation twice a week for 5 years. The answer is in a single boast Galen wrote into his memoirs. In the 5 years before his tenure, there had been 60 gladiator deaths from wound infection. In the 5 years of his tenure, there were 2. Galen did not invent a new surgical technique. He did what every good field surgeon after him would do. He took the chain of care he had learned in the legions and applied it, patient by patient, wound by wound, until the numbers changed. Galen's surgical notes were copied, and copied again by Byzantine monks in Constantinople. They were translated into Arabic by scholars at the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. They were translated back from Arabic into Latin by physicians in Salerno and Toledo. Juan Ambroise Paré reached for a Latin manual in 1545. He was reading Galen, filtered through Islamic and Byzantine pens. Come back to Dura-Europos, 256 AD. A legionnaire on his back in the dust, vinegar hissing into his wound. A stranger with 43 bronze instruments on a linen cloth beside him. Already moving through the steps, a Greek surgeon wrote down in Alexandria. 3 centuries earlier. Who is about to be read, unchanged, by a French surgeon 1300 years after him. Modern military medicine, triage, the field hospital, the chain of evacuation, pre-operative anesthesia, post-operative antiseptic wound care, was not invented in the 20th century. It was invented in the mud outside. Dura-Europos, 256 AD. And most of the men who owe their lives to it have never known his name. So when the man with the bronze spoon asks you to count backwards from 10, count. The man knows what he is doing.